Let's have another look at some of the amazing things that are included in this beautiful book, The People's Guide to Mexico by Karl Franz. I've had this copy for more than 40 years, and today we're going to look at this chapter 4, and read some little extracts from it, not the whole chapter. If you want the book, go out and buy it, get yourself a copy, and you will be delighted that you did so. Driving in Mexico. We're going to look at some hazards, close encounters of the worst kind, smudge, flagmen, road conditions, speed bumps, and a lot more. Driving in Mexico, as in all other parts of the world, is a constant battle for survival. Roadside crosses and shrines mark the fatal confrontations and commemorate the losers. Many common driving hazards and annoyances found in the US are also there, though usually in a slightly altered form. The omnipresent teenager, for example, hunched bird-like behind the wheel of his 400 horsepower candy-coloured airfoiled supercar, passes you dangerously close at 140 miles per hour as he calmly munches a double burger and squeezes an annoying pimple. In Mexico, he's still the same basic teenager, apparently oblivious to other traffic, mesmerised by the blaring mute radio and the dangling ornaments that festoon mirrors and knobs. But there is one difference. He's behind the wheel of a hurtling semi-truckload of bananas, and he's passing you on a blind mountain curve. You glance over, afraid to imagine what is about to happen. He grins, flashes a peace sign, and cuts you off as he swerves to miss an oncoming bus. I've seen that. I've been there before. Hazards. The number and variety of driving hazards are incredible. From the ever-present trucks and buses to homemade wooden carts loaded with logs, steered down precipitous mountain grades by grinning old men. Tiny motorbikes with heavy loads, firewood, kitchen sinks, baby goats, beer cases, children, teetering dangerously on the sagging back fender appear as you roar over the crest of a hill. Relaxing country boys can be seen lying in the road, taking a little snooze after a hard day's work. And everywhere, from the coastal lowlands to the highest mountains, a constant traffic is dumb beasts, cows, pigs, horses, children, and burros. Parade alongside and in front of you. Nerves strain as you attempt to anticipate their next few steps, your foot poised over the brake pedal. Low-flying buzzards are a very real hazard, as are piles of drying corn, beans, and chili peppers placed on the hot pavement by enterprising farmers who prefer the smooth road surface to the dusty shoulder. As you fly around a curve and find yourself unexpectedly in the middle of a small village, it seems that everyone suddenly leaps up and crosses the street, forcing you to brake madly. Pigs that haven't moved from gooey wallows for a week lurch frantically to their feet and stumble in front of the car, followed by reckless children beating them with twigs. But of all hazards, none can compare to the other driver. By American standards, many Mexican drivers are not only wild and unpredictable, they are dangerous and a threat to personal safety. People who have travelled in foreign countries like to play a one-upmanship game about the driving conditions and dangers found in various places they visited. The standard comment to someone totally freaked about driving in Mexico is, "Oh, if you think this is bad, you should see Beirut, Paris, Tokyo, etc." They may be wild, but they're damn good is another comment you'll hear about Mexican drivers. The professionals, truck and bus drivers, are undoubtedly good, but if good driving involves good sense, they are among the worst. Most would be disqualified from a destruction derby on grounds of excessive zeal and disregard for human life. While driving, you must be continually alert to see trucks and buses pass each other on blind curves or just before the crest of a hill, and is not at all unusual. After witnessing and participating in innumerable near collisions between trucks, cars, buses, and motorcycles, I maintain that for the majority of these good drivers, it's only a matter of time. It is dangerously easy for tourists to fall into the same driving habits they see demonstrated by other drivers. When stuck behind a slow diesel truck in a mountain pass, the temptation to follow the example of a huge bus and pass on a blind curve can be very strong. At this point, you should seriously consider what the consequences are if you don't make it. And if you decide, as many do, to play their games, you'll find that it doesn't end until you've passed them all. Mexican drivers actually try to help out when you wish to pass by, signaling with their lights. You should recognize and use these yourself. Left turn signal, siga, safe to pass me, but not in town, of course. Right turn signal, alto, don't pass. Another common signal that means danger ahead of you is given by oncoming vehicles by blinking their headlights or turn signals or honking the horn. The first vehicle to flash its headlights has the right of way at bridges, narrow streets, detours, etc. Patience as well as alertness should be constantly maintained while driving. A second-class bus passes you at 70, belching smoke and looking for all the world like an express to hell. As soon as he's around you, he spots an old lady with a chicken standing on the shoulder of the road and slams on the brakes. You madly pump your brakes, but are forced by your speed to go round him. The race is on. 30 seconds later, he passes you again. In a few more minutes, you pass him while he loads more bodies, and inevitably he passes you within a mile. This can go on for hours. When you're stuck behind a smelly bus or a truck, the best thing is to drop back out of the exhaust cloud and open a beer. Don't let other drivers or your passengers goad you into doing something stupid. Many sections of major highways and boulevards are not marked off into separate lanes. You will then have to join in that exciting Mexican game I called Smurge. This is a nerve-tingling mixture of courtesy, cowardice, and intimidation. The game is so popular, in fact, that most drivers practice it even when lanes have been marked. A friend calls this type of driving close encounters of the worst kind. Let's say that you're driving innocently across the desert on a 2-lane highway, mindful of the buses that appear out of nowhere and roar past at high speeds. Suddenly you're close behind 2 large trucks. One of the trucks has broken down and is being towed to the shop. A tow bar wasn't available, so the enterprising drivers got together and felled a tree. It is now lashed from the rear bumper of the front truck to the front bumper of the second. It's not too safe, but they're only doing 60 miles an hour. You move to pass this unlikely combination. When you're just about even with the first truck, the bark of a bus horn raises the hair on the back of your neck. You look nervously into the rearview mirror, but all you can see is the word ANID in huge chrome letters. That's Dina, the company that made the bus. The driver honks insistently and begins to edge around you. 5 seconds later, you're the middle vehicle of 3 abreast. It's time to play Snurge. Ease very cautiously to the right, just enough to let the bus get by without forcing you into the trucks, and apply your foot ever so gently to the brake pedal. Now, drop back about 1/4 of a mile from the trucks and let your pulse rate return to normal. Mexican pedestrians are notorious for forcing cars to avoid hitting them. It is not uncommon to have people step nonchalantly in front of your car and then appear startled when you come screeching to a stop a few inches from them. The average Mexican with no driving experience cannot appreciate the difficulty of stopping a fast-moving vehicle. Having to travel on foot, they tend to think of roads as footpaths. Road improvements involve a whole new group of hazards. The repairs themselves. Piles of dirt, gravel and sand neatly line the highway for mile after mile. A 2-lane road turns into a 1-lane or a 1.5-lane ordeal as you're forced off the road time after time by trucks and buses. Some neat piles have waited so long to be used that they've dissolved and weathered into lumps. These are often marked with regular road signs portraying piles of dirt. If road repair hasn't progressed to the point of using the dirt piles, you may see large rocks, often whitewashed, placed haphazardly in the roadway, apparently marking future work areas. Surveying crews mark the roads with rocks, as do paving crews, chuck hole fillers and truck drivers who've parked to eat a watermelon. A single white rock on the crest of a hill can mean anything awaits you on the other side, from a full-scale road crew with graders and dozers to a broken-down pickup truck with a dismantled engine. A rock, a stick with a rag tied to the top, a row of beer bottles, any of these can be an important warning signal. Sections of road being attacked by full-scale repair crews can be frustrating areas to drive through. It seems that trucks and buses never move over enough to allow you to pass easily. Strange, unintelligible hand signals and flag waving from irate traffic directors may have you tearing your hair out with rage. As traffic behind you impatiently leans on the horn to speed you up, the repair crews frantically motion you to slow down. The secret to driving through this maze is simple. Go slow and keep calm. If an oncoming vehicle refuses to yield the right of way and you know that it can or should, it's much easier to give in quickly than to become involved in an ugly confrontation that you'll probably lose anyway. Mexican flag signals are a complete mystery to them and to us. A waving flag usually means keep moving. A stationary flag usually means stop. If the flagman uses his hands with the palm down, pumping up and down as if someone is being given artificial respiration, it means slow down. If he waves you back and you stop, and then he keeps waving you back so that you can back up and stop, only to have him wave you impatiently even further back, it means come ahead. One of the most confusing and most common gestures you'll run into throughout Mexico is the waving motion that would seem to go back, but instead means the exact opposite. Confusion can become quite hysterical. You back up as you suppose you should, until getting bumper to bumper with a semi-truck. You motion him back, actually forward, until he gets pissed off and inches forward. You interrupt a mutual exchange of insults and horn blarings with the truck driver long enough to check the flagman. Sure enough, he's still motioning you back, but now frantically and assisted by half the road gang. Someone finally runs to your car and shrieks unintelligible instructions and points ahead. You put it in gear, shake your fist at the truck driver, and go triumphantly forward. The flagman, hoping to encourage you, begins to wave you back. What happens if worse comes to worse and you're involved in an accident? Stay calm and turn to tourists and the law. Road conditions. Driving on secondary roads requires alertness and caution. The same hazards found on main highways are compounded by poorer road surfaces, which rarely slow down the other drivers. You should be aware of weather conditions. During the rainy season, May to September in most areas, the back roads can go to pieces in hours. Dirt roads literally melt before your eyes and become rushing streams. If this happens before you get back to the pavement, you'll be stranded until things drain. At the beginning of the rainy season, or after unseasonal showers, paved roads will be slick with accumulated oil. Mudslides and falling boulders are common in the mountains, even on main highways. Fog often reduces visibility in mountain passes and is common in some lowland areas, especially early in the morning. Driving in fog in Mexico is the ultimate combination of hazards. If you're exploring remote mountain areas and aren't driving a four-wheel drive vehicle or something of equal capability, it's advisable to check the condition of steep grades closely before attempting them. This is true going uphill and downhill. We and many others have had the experience of barely getting up a hill we casually drove down. On the other angle, going up, we once slid back down a road that we attempted without checking the grade or surface. The van refused to stop, even with the brakes locked and large rucks under the back tyre. The loose surface of the road gave way beneath the car's weight, and we slid a considerable distance before stopping. A drop of several hundred feet on the immediate right added drama to the situation. Some very common year-round conditions are real hazards, usually because they appear so rapidly. A broad, paved, two-lane highway suddenly narrows to a single-lane bridge, and you're faced with the uninviting prospect of playing chicken with an oncoming bus. The rules of the road say that the first vehicle to flash its headlights has the right of way in such situations. But when you have given the signal and the other driver is still barrelling along, you know that the real rules of the road are determined by size, speed, and recklessness. Sudden chuck holes in an otherwise good road are common on the main trucking routes, particularly on the coast where roadbeds are often soft and deteriorate rapidly in the rainy season. Bad holes are sometimes marked, but the markers, usually a large boulder or pole, are hazards themselves. Road conditions are particularly treacherous in areas where the sugarcane is grown. A friend who hit an unexpected series of deep chuck holes says he now keeps in mind that sugarcane leads to cavities in the road. Heavy truck traffic during the cane harvest raises hell with highway surfaces. These trucks, always overloaded, are hazards. Most are very slow and suffering from overuse. Watch out for them. Most Mexican roads do not have shoulders, especially those built more than a few years ago. The edge of the pavement drops 6 to 12 inches and may be very uneven. New roads, however, may have hazardous low curbs which prevent a safe, fast emergency exit. In areas where seasonal rains wash out small bridges and chunks of roadway, the pavement may suddenly end, turning to a short section of dirt and rocks that will rattle your teeth and nerves. If the washout is a yearly occurrence, as many are, the road will be graded to form a vado or dip, allowing the high water to pass over the roadway without destroying it completely. Vados may be dirt or surfaced with cobblestones, pavement or cement. Some vados, especially along Baja's Transpeninsular Highway, are marked with depth indicator poles. The idea is that you'll note the depth of the water and base a decision to cross or to wait on the size of your vehicle. When in doubt, wait. I know of cases where small cars, especially a good tight VW Bug, were swept away. Often a village will tire of high-speed traffic racing through town and erect 1 or 2 sets of speed bumps, topes, túmulos, vibradores, or boyas, to slow things down. If the topes aren't marked, you may hit them fast and hard. Watch for them closely. A friend who deliberately ignored topes and delighted in hitting them at a fair speed learned his lesson one day when the impact caused the front bumper to fall off. As if that wasn't enough, the bumper was caught under the car and wreaked additional havoc. City driving. Driving in town can be nerve-wracking, though the speeds involved are usually less than those on the open highway. While you're desperately craning your neck to spot road signs, you must also watch for other cars, pedestrian cops, and legless beggars skateboarding through town. In town, chaos seems to reign. People ignore traffic lights completely or only slow down slightly for them. They drive 3 abreast in streets clearly marked as 2-lane, and there seems to be no control over right-of-way at cross streets. What do you do in a situation like this? The best procedure is to drive slowly and keep your eyes on the road ahead. Let the guy behind you worry about what you're going to do, because the driver ahead of you is the most dangerous, and he's not paying attention to you either. Unexpected stops for double-parked cars, jaywalkers, and slow carts are common. Don't let other drivers sweep you up in their lemming-like enthusiasm for speed and reckless lane changing. When you get in a good lane, stay there until you're certain that you have to turn or move over. At cross streets and intersections not controlled by traffic lights or police, assume that you don't have the right of way. This doesn't mean that you have to stop. Just decrease your speed a bit and look in all directions. Even if you have the right of way, it may not be recognized by your opponents. If an intersection is regulated by a cop, the position of his body will determine right of way. Facing you or with his back to you means stop. When he is sideways to you, it means go. The Glorieta traffic circle is one of the more confusing and nerve-straining aspects of driving in larger cities. It is essentially a circular free zone established around a grotesque statue or fountain. Several streets feed into the traffic pattern that is wheeling around a circle. When you spot a street that you'd like to exit to, You merely shoot through traffic and are on the way, unless, however, you ignore the cars speeding round you and nail one as you try to brake out of orbit. Should you get confused in a glorietta, grab the inner lane and maintain an orbiting pattern until you've figured out what the hell is going on. Have another beer and observe the traffic. Eventually, you'll get the hang of it. The nice feature of the traffic circle is that it allows you to make a few reconnaissance loops if you aren't sure which street to take. Traffic planners in Mexico City have come up with a diabolical plan to increase traffic flow in that already mind-boggling megapolis. More than 30 high-speed boulevards are being constructed, and existing gloriettas will be removed in the campaign for more speed. Good luck. Night driving. Anyone with any sense who has driven more than a few weeks in Mexico will tell you that driving at night is stupid, insane, and downright suicidal. Stories of cows and horses in the road don't seem to justify the intensity of the warnings, so you find yourself inclined to say, I'll try it for myself. And you probably should, but remember, the basis of the entire don't drive at night scare is that all of the hazards you'll encounter during the day will still be there at night, but they'll be much harder to see. Because of the heat retained by asphalt roads, livestock and wild beasts are drawn to them at night for warmth. Unless you have good night vision, quick reflexes, and an important appointment, leave night driving to those who do. Mexicans often deliberately drive at night without lights. The logic behind this, or so I've been told, is that they can see better without the glare of headlights. They can see, for example, the lights of oncoming cars, especially over hills and around mountain curves. This doesn't work quite so well, however, if two oncoming vehicles are both doing it. When headlights are used, it's invariably on high beam, which they won't dip until the last moment, if at all. Night driving on the outskirts of cities and even villages is especially hazardous due to the concentration and variety of traffic there. The People's Guide to Mexico.